Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Body Language Podcast. This is episode 5. I can't believe 5th episode. I'm sorry I've had a bit of a break, but there will be more content coming. Before I start this episode, I just want to say it is dedicated to two of my cats, Moonlight and Tidbit, who passed away this spring. They were just the best friends, best sisters that each other could ask for, that I could ask for, and our other two cats could ask for. To have had 19 and 20 years with them was just the biggest blessing. And to all of you who met them, I know they brought so much joy. Tidbit from how cute and large she was, and Moonlight for how not friendly she was, and yet it was so endearing. And honestly, such strong women, such strong personalities. They are so expressive and just the most loving girls to each other and to everyone in our family. So my whole family, we're missing them so much. And it was just on my heart to have this episode be dedicated to them and just tell you at the start how amazing they were. So we love you, Moonlight and Tidbit, so much. So today, episode 5, I have a list of things I wanted to talk about. Couldn't decide what was the right podcast topic to go for. And then I decided the concept of having a complex internal world and being tuned into that is really interesting to me and has been on my mind recently. Some of you might be wondering, like, what does that even mean? And those are the words that I kind of have been thinking about, internal world. And I Googled it because I was like, is that how other people are describing it? But actually, it is. I mean, don't call me a psychologist. This is not professional information coming from me, but a few different psychology sources describe it as we each have an unconscious and conscious internal world populated by our feelings, experiences, and memories. Another source says it's the thoughts, imaginations, emotions, and values that occupy your mind when you are alone with yourself. And another one says the inner world contains the reactions, feelings, sensations, memories of the individual themselves to things in the outer world. I found that all so interesting, and it kind of encapsulates a lot of ways that I've been feeling recently. I don't know about you guys, but everyone I've talked to has just said this past month/2 months have been a lot. There's been a lot of change, challenges that we all go through, kind of internal struggles, and that sounds so dramatic, but like, you know what I mean. Just learning about ourselves, being pushed to adapt through different circumstances. And it has just led me to tap more into myself and kind of ponder life events that have been important to me, things that I'm missing, things that I'm hoping for, things I'm holding on to, how certain art is impacting me, why certain things resonate with me in a certain way, or it used to resonate with me in this way and now it resonates in a different way. I just found that all interesting. If you've listened to episode 1, where it's just me giving a little bit of my backstory, journey with confidence and identity and everything like that, I felt that my inner world and my outer world were so out of sync. Like the way that I saw myself and the emotions that I experienced day to day, just how things made me feel, my attitudes towards things, hopes, dreams, whatever, felt so different from how I was living in the world, expressing myself, the perception that others had of me. And I think that's why it's also so important to be tapped into all of these aspects of internal world, like emotions, memories, beliefs, values. You know, what do you imagine when you daydream? Where does your brain go? And there's nothing that feels like making your surrounding world look a little bit more like your internal world and moving through the world in a way that really feels authentic to your deepest self. This is kind of how I feel like I first started to express that connection with our inner world. And so maybe this helps. But for me, I think about it a lot with music. I think that's a big thing that kind of gets me to reflect inward and think about, you know, why certain music is affecting me the way it does. So it's like if you listen to something, we all have that song where you just feel it to your core. You're like, this was meant for me. The melody, you're like, I feel understood, or the lyrics hit you so deeply, it triggers a really intense, visceral experience for you. And I think it's so important to be in tune with that and really enjoy spending time with yourself as you're consuming art, as you're consuming even a TV show, whatever, when something hits you and provokes a reaction from you, to really stop and contemplate a little bit of like, oh, why does that resonate with me so much? And I think that's such a cool thing because all of us, we are the ones who know ourselves best, but at the same time, we're constantly learning about ourselves. And so I think just going in deeper to your inner world, your internal monologue, is such an interesting thing, and it really will teach you so much about yourself. I also think it pushes you to be more creative. It's like a give and take. The more you lean into your internal world, the more you'll want to create. And the more you create, the more you are putting out into the world what is going on inside of you. I think that's something where I grew so much going to college at SCAD. The encouragement of like, whatever is going on inside of you, how can you use whatever medium you're using to translate that? How do you kind of take an abstract concept and make it into something tangible, whether that's painting, clothing item, architecture, whatever. And I just think that's so cool. And another side tangent I will say is I really think every human is creative. I was just talking to Sophia, my roommate, about that, of like, that is what sets our species apart. We are so driven to create. And whenever people say, oh, I'm not creative, I don't really express myself in that way, I think you're missing out on a huge way of knowing yourself, because a lot of people assume that creation is to be seen or to do things for other people to notice or look at. But honestly, just the act of creating it's just for you. So I think as much as you can, be mindful as you consume things in the world. When you look at art, how does it move you? The paintings you're looking at, or movies you're watching, or fashion that you're wearing or seeing, really take a moment to just kind of enjoy the fact that it sparks a feeling in you. I think that's also part of becoming closer with ourselves and loving ourselves more, is to be like, whoa, I actually love how much this piece of music just impacted me. Or I love the fact that maybe not to everyone this work of art is so impactful, but to me, it just struck me to my core. We all need to be getting to know ourselves constantly. Another big aspect of that is finding joy in the parts of you that only you can understand, that only you know about. None of us will ever be totally known by the people around us. And I think there's times where that can be scary. I've talked to my friend Belle about this. It's such a human thing to want our intentions and our character to be understood by everyone around us. We want to feel seen and known. And that's also part of the spirit of this podcast, is all of us getting one step closer to truly making sure ourselves are seen, that others are seen. But what I think is so cool about being in touch with your inner world, and I just had a moment of this week as well, doing journaling exercise. It just hit me how amazing that no one else has to know this or agree with this for it to be true. I know me. I know exactly who I am. And I love these qualities about myself. And I'm just going to take a moment to really cherish that. Like all the little things, how beautiful it is that you love a certain song or love a certain activity. It just doesn't have to make sense to anyone else. It doesn't even have to be seen or acknowledged by anyone else for it to have value. That leads me to another point, and something that actually has really changed my perception of my own creativity is I started reading The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin. Haven't finished it, so I do need to keep going, but it changed my whole mindset around how I view myself as an artist. I think so many people, there's this debate around, to call yourself an artist, do you have to be actively making work? Do you have to actively be putting content out? Now, everyone's an artist for career, but every human is artistic. We all have that innate ability to create. And so I am obviously team, no, you do not have to actively be making work in order to be an artist. In The Creative Act, the author's really stressing how there's creativity not just in the final product, but in the process. There's creativity in the mental state that got you there. Even just an idea being like the birth of an idea. It doesn't have to be fully formed. That is creative. And that is so cool to get to experience with yourself. I totally encourage everyone to read the book. Good reminder for me to finish the book. But it just hit me of relish in those moments where you're in the process of discovering something or creating something or coming up with an idea, because our society loves to give praise to what is put out and tangible into the world. People don't want to praise you for an idea you have. They want to praise you for a product you put out. But what I think is so cool about the concept in this book is that the the act of creating is just for you. That internal world, the idea building is so special, and you need to reward yourself for that. Be proud that you're going through that thought process. So that is something I've been trying to do more with myself, instead of just celebrating the completed works that I do, to also celebrate even vague ideas in my head. It has changed my perception of creativity so much to realize it doesn't have to exist in the outer world. Something existing in your inner world, even if it's the smallest hint of a concept, an idea, an emotion, a memory even, there's meaning to that. And it just adds depth to who you are. I would tell everyone to let yourself daydream. My whole life growing up was just kind of always in my head, thinking about scenarios, imagining things. And I think there's a lot of people who say that there's a bad side to that, or the concept of maladaptive daydreaming, or you need to be present. And obviously it is so important to be present. But I also think that side of knowing yourself, of like, oh, what is it that my brain is drifting to during the day? What is that little tug that I'm feeling on my soul to think about this thing? So getting to know yourself more like that. I encourage everyone, if you don't journal, definitely do it. And it doesn't have to be something you do every day. Obviously, I feel when I do it every day, there have been times in my life where I do like a nightly check-in. It made me feel so in tune with myself. I need to get back to that. But even just sporadically, to just sit down and do a bit of a brain dump, it's so crazy what you will unlock. Because if you think about it, we're existing with this internal monologue 24/7. And in order to not be so overstimulated, and in order to be able to consume what's out in front of us in the world, we have to tap out for a second. We're not going to hear that internal monologue all the time. But what's so special about journaling is you really hone in on that, and you'll be surprised what comes up. And if you don't like journaling by hand, I encourage you to do it on the computer. I think that also can help, just because our age group, or likely the age group of everyone listening to this, is so tech savvy that we can type faster than we can write. And so that kind of helps me to have true brain dump of, as I'm thinking it, I'm writing it out. So if you need, I say open up a Google Doc, call it your journal, and write things out. So going back to inner and outer worlds feeling out of sync, I just really did not feel like I was experiencing the world in a way that reflected my inner world. There was so much I wanted to express that I was held back by fear of judgment. I was held back by it just seeming not possible for me, because that's another interesting thing about our internal world, is like there's many aspects of it that might even feel like a total opposite of who we are, how the world knows us. And that's part of the richness of it, is inside in your brain and your heart, you can be whoever you want to be. And hopefully that is just the deepest version of yourself. We're all so complex and not single faceted humans. So I think as much as you can, do things every day in the physical world that connect you to that other side of yourself. So listen to music that really makes you feel seen and matches what you're feeling in the moment. The way you express yourself through clothing, I think, is one of the most important things. Part of why I called this podcast Body Language is I just think it's so interesting, the emotional side, but also the physical side of how we exist in the world and how that impacts our confidence, our self-identity. For me, the ability to change how I dress to match how I'm feeling, whatever's happening in my brain, is so important. And it's just a great exercise of self-love and connecting you to exactly how you feel. It doesn't have to make sense to anyone else. You could come in an outfit that is totally different from what anyone's ever seen on you. It doesn't have to make sense to anyone. It just has to make sense to you. So all those little things, put more art around yourself, consume more art that resonates with you, consume more music that resonates with you, express yourself through your clothing, express yourself through your hair, be around people who make you feel seen. That's also such a constant theme in this podcast. And all of my guests that I have on are so special because they make me feel so seen and support me through this journey that we're all going on of syncing up this inner world and our outer world. And I promise you, it is a really worthwhile journey. It will feel so good, because that's where in my life I've noticed a disconnect. Anytime I start to feel kind of antsy or off, it's always because there's something inside of me that I'm really wanting to express or achieve or do that I'm not doing in the external world. So whenever you feel that same, that restless feeling, like you're on the verge of something more, you're looking for something more, I would suggest sitting down and journaling and just being like, what is it within me that I'm feeling that I'm not doing, that I'm not expressing? So much of the time for me, it's creative ideas that I have kind of backlogged in my brain. And then now I'm just like, I need to get this out. It has to exist in the world now. And as much as it can be a daunting task to start the new garment or whatever I want to do, it's so worth it. And I was talking to friends too. I've been feeling so much like the want to do other creative avenues as well. And I was pushing those away because I thought, no, I need to just focus on fashion. I need to do one thing and do it well. But it just kept being a repeated thing where I needed it so badly. I needed more than one form of self-expression. And that's why I started this podcast, honestly, is verbal self-expression has been so important to me for so long. And verbalizing how I'm feeling always helps me to make sense of the world, and good conversations with people is something I'm so passionate about. So I was like, I'm going to start this podcast. It's something I had been putting off for years. And again, I just realized that there was that disconnect from inner and outer world. And I knew there was something else I wanted to do. So I feel really good doing it. And I hope that that can encourage you to do the one thing or many things that you've kind of put off or thought, I don't really need to do this. But if it keeps coming up in your brain, you want to do it. You should do it. One thing that I think is such an important realization to come to is, especially with the beliefs and values side and just things that are important to you within yourself and your inner world, it does not have to make sense to anyone else to be valid. I had an experience this past week where a value that I held was just not, it didn't align with someone else's. And everyone is completely entitled to their own opinion, but it really just gave me a second to reflect and be like, I don't need anyone else to understand the choices I've made. I don't need anyone else to agree with them either. I know why it's important to me. I know my intentions. I know my thought process and how it relates to me as a person as a whole. Yeah, I just hope that if there's anything in your life that you're getting pushback on about someone asking, well, why does that matter to you? Why is this a way you need to express yourself? Why is this a way you see the world this way? That's why it's so important to be tapped into yourself and your feelings and your thought process, because you have to have your own back and be able to stand on those decisions. You don't need anyone else's approval for things to be important to you. You don't need anyone else's approval for things to feel right to you, for things to light you up. If it's important to you, it's important, and that's it. I think something that goes along with that too, just in terms of making our outer world a little more similar to our inner world, the way that I express my appearance, I have really long hair. I love to have long nails. And those are things that not everyone understands. I've had family members be like, cut the hair, or people not enjoy the nails. But honestly, it makes sense to me. It makes sense to me, to my idea of who I am, to visually what I like, expressing certain facets of myself. So just continue to do that. Wear what feels like you. Do your hair the way that makes sense to you. Everything you do. Whenever I've had tooth gems on, that's been something that's confused people so much. They don't get it. And I'm like, it just feels like me. This is just something that feels like such a side of myself that existed only in the inner world. And I didn't really show because I thought people would be confused by it. And when I did it, people were confused by it. But the people whose opinion I really value in my life loved it. And so I just hope that you can do that as well. And just know whatever it is that feels right to you, that feels important to you, it's valid, it's beautiful. And anyone who's pushing back or who just isn't getting with the program of why it works for you, those aren't your people. And that's okay. No one needs to understand why that song matters so much to you or why a certain moment is so important to you. We do this to each other all the time of being like, I don't know why she's so hung up on XYZ, or I don't know why he is still thinking about this, or why this concept is so important to them. We'll never fully understand someone else's inner world. I think the kindest thing we can do as friends is to try and to ask those questions to get closer. I love learning those things about my friends, but it's so important that you really have your own back and understand, I don't need anyone else to understand why I'm doing this. I know why I'm doing this. I know why it relates to who I am and how I view the world. If journaling doesn't seem like the right route for you, there's so many other ways to get in touch with your inner world, mindfulness and meditation, spending time in nature, continuing to read and learn and just broaden horizons to find things that really speak to you. I think that's one of the most important parts is search out inspiration, search out new experiences that allow you to learn about yourself, that allow you to challenge your thought processes, challenge your beliefs, challenge the kind of media that you think you normally like to consume. Maybe try something different. Anytime I've started listening to a genre of music that I originally didn't think I like, I feel like I learn more deeply about myself and usually end up liking the music. I think getting your body moving as well and just connecting that mind-body awareness is so important too, and the thoughts that come up during that time. So just read the books, listen to the music, try on different clothes, meet different people, make a list of things that you dream about doing. The smallest thing, like trying a certain food, or something big like a huge life goal or a big trip, and just see how you can put those things into practice. And I just feel so good about the way it's going to make you feel. Honestly, these past 2 weeks, I feel like I have been less sturdy in who I am, but we're getting our footing again. And part of that was I did a journaling exercise just of qualities that I love about myself, which I know some of you might be like, that sounds narcissistic. Honestly, though, we all need to do it. It's so important to be able to acknowledge the things that you value in yourself. It just made me so connected to the concept of, wow, my knowledge of myself is so much deeper than how anyone else could know me. And I think that scared a past version of myself. And now I'm just like, what a privilege it is to be your own friend, to be your own cheerleader, to love the complexity of who you are, and to be excited about how much you have to pour into the world, because we all have so much to share with the world. This is going to be a shorter episode today. I hope that it's still enjoyable and I hope that it resonates. I feel like today, out of all the episodes, feels like the most kind of an abstract concept, and I know it'll resonate differently for everyone. I think my friends from college who are in the arts will feel it maybe more how I'm feeling it, and then maybe my friends who aren't in the arts will feel it in a totally different way. And that's really exciting to me too. To wrap it all up, I think coming to terms with the fact that not everyone will see you for how you want to be seen, it can be really scary, but also I'm finding so much freedom and beauty in that, of being like, wait, but how cool is it that no matter what, I know myself, I have an endless access to this vast internal world. And to be fascinated with your own self is such a cool thing, to be like, whoa, there's just constant things I'm discovering about myself. So cool to see the way different things evoke reactions in me, the memories that are special to me. I just find that so cool. So I think really dive into that and just keep falling in love with yourself more and more. So that's going to be it for today's episode. It is a shorter one, but I hope you really enjoyed it. And I am just so grateful to you for listening to this episode. I'm really excited for the next guest episode. She and I have been trying to get this episode together for a while now, and it's going to come to you soon. And she's amazing. So I'm really excited for you to get to hear all that she's going to say. My Instagram is at Anya Gazes. And if you want to follow the podcast, it's at Bodylang Podcast on Instagram. As always, let me know if there's any topics you want to hear about, and get excited for the next guest episode. I love you guys so much.